Teenager Jason Peterson is celebrating his 14th birthday. His family gathers around him, but the person he wants there most is missing: his father. Jason makes a wish and blows out the candles on his birthday cake. He still has not opened the letter from his father, who is serving time in prison. Kevin Russell's arrest made headlines across the country. 14 years have passed, but Kevin's former fiancée, Emma Peterson, remains convinced that he is innocent. Desperate, Annie writes to human rights lawyer Emma Banville, asking her to help prove that Kevin did not commit the horrific crime of which he was accused. Annie does not want her son Jason to spend his entire life believing that his father is a murderer. Kevin is a good man, and he deserves justice. Emma agrees to take the case without hesitation. The two women visit Kevin in prison. Annie longs to hug him, but physical contact is not allowed. Kevin is upset that his son has once again stayed away. Annie promises that Jason will come next time, but for now they cannot waste any time and need to discuss the case. The man denies having anything to do with Linda Sims's death. Emma asks why he confessed. Kevin explains that he was exhausted and frightened. Emma still cannot understand how Kevin, already a 23-year-old man at the time, could confess to something he had not done. He says the police pressured him. Without new evidence, the lawyer cannot get the case reopened, so she asks Kevin to give her anything she can build a defense around. The school dance was crowded, yet he was the one who was arrested. Kevin says only that he has already told the police and the court everything. He does not believe Emma can succeed. He confessed because the detective questioning him convinced him it would help at trial. Naturally, it only made things worse. Kevin is broken. Even his son, who has visited him only twice in the past 6 years, despises him. Although Kevin is reluctant to cooperate, Emma becomes determined to prove in court that he was falsely accused. Emma's colleagues at the law firm are skeptical about her decision to take the case. First, Kevin confessed, and second, there is physical evidence against him. Emma counters that the forensic testing was sloppy and the interview breached procedure. Besides, Annie is absolutely certain that Kevin is innocent. After his arrest, she married another man so Jason would have a father, but she has spent the past 14 years refusing to give up and approaching one law firm after another. Maggie Berman tells her father, Monty Berman, who owns the firm, that the case will bring them nothing but ridicule. Monty understands, but their firm has never been driven by money. Emma reviews the interview recordings. If Kevin is telling the truth, Olivia Greenwood, who investigated Linda Sims's death, coerced his confession. Olivia now works for Counterterrorism Command, and she will clearly not welcome the reopening of a 14-year-old case. Emma does not care. She is determined to win justice for Kevin. Emma visits her gravely ill father, Arthur, in hospital. Her mother soon joins them. Eleanor disapproves of her daughter's work defending dangerous criminals. Emma wearily replies that everyone has a right to a defense. Emma has neither a husband nor children, and Eleanor worries about her deeply. Later, the lawyer meets Hamid, the nephew of one of her clients. She represents Dr. Yusuf Attar, who is suspected of links to a terrorist organization. Emma has taken in Yusuf's wife and son while he is on the run in Syria. Hamid cannot help, but promises to try to contact him. Emma says that if Yusuf returns, they will go to the police together and sort everything out. That same evening, police officers pull Emma over, supposedly for speeding, even though she was not. They warn her to stay out of matters that do not concern her, saying that her friends asked them to pass on the message. They refuse to say which friends. Miriam Attar, Yusuf's wife, and their son Kareem are living with Emma and her boyfriend, Steve Livesey. As Syrian refugees, they are under intense scrutiny from the authorities. Miriam cannot understand why this is happening when neither she nor her husband has done anything wrong. Emma urges her to be patient. The police are waiting for them to make a mistake, so Miriam cannot simply travel back home to be with Yusuf. Despite the late hour, Emma listens closely to Kevin's interview. At the time, he was the caretaker at the school attended by 15-year-old Linda Sims, and witnesses had seen them together. Olivia Greenwood pressured Kevin into describing events that had never happened. He may even have partly believed what he was saying. After 48 hours in custody, Kevin was utterly exhausted. Olivia Greenwood planted the idea that Kevin had lost control, and in a fit of emotion taken the life of someone he had feelings for. He then had to dispose of the body. If he refused to accept that version, he could be charged with premeditated murder, a far more serious offense. Detective Greenwood made Kevin feel trapped and convinced him that she was the only person who could help him. When asked what weapon he used, Kevin hesitates before answering that it was a shovel. He then begins describing his attack on Linda in detail, as though it truly happened. After hearing that, the jury could hardly have had any doubts. Kevin is still haunted by nightmares about that fateful night. After so many years, he has lost all hope. Emma now sees exactly what happened. Greenwood had crime scene photographs on the table, and they supplied Kevin with the answers. She pointed to the relevant details, making him say what she needed to hear. At the very least, the court should rule his confession inadmissible. The problem is that Kevin's previous lawyers no longer have the forensic records, which are retained for only 6 years. Emma can only hope that copies remain at the police station where Kevin was questioned. She and her legal assistant, former police officer Dominic Trulove, go there to inspect everything that remains from the Linda Sims case. All the evidence is vague and inconclusive. Emma plans to visit the school where the body was found the very next day. According to the case file, the crime took place in a maintenance shed at the school, where Kevin supposedly lured Linda. Emma remembers that the post-mortem report mentioned pine needles in Linda's hair, even though there are no conifers nearby. It is only one of many inconsistencies in the case. Linda's family, her father Charlie, her mother Beth and her uncle Phil, already know that Kevin Russell intends to seek a retrial. They have brought in the press and warned Emma to back off. Linda's family has no doubt that Kevin is guilty, and the original investigation had no other suspects. Emma is deeply sorry for what they have endured, but if Kevin was coerced into confessing, she will do everything she can to see justice done. Emma first needs a copy of the independent laboratory's post-mortem report. Dominic senses that for once, Emma is worried about press coverage, even though she normally reads no papers and watches no television. Emma admits that she plans to adopt a child. She has a home, an income and a stable relationship. Asked why she wants to do it now, she cannot give a precise answer. Her life has felt empty for so long that she needs something good in it. Jason is furious when he sees his father's name back on the front pages. The young man does not want to go through it all again or endure his classmates' suspicious looks. Emma and Steve meet a social worker to discuss adoption. Everything looks promising except for Steve's criminal record. He received a suspended sentence for trespassing. Steve explains that he is a press photographer. That is how he met Emma. She tore him apart in court, and he fell in love at first sight. After the grueling conversation with the social worker, the couple go to a bar for a beer. Emma's reputation for taking on the most notorious and sordid cases could ruin their chances of adopting. Olivia quickly learns that the Linda Sims case is being reopened. Around the same time, Kevin's fellow inmates brutally beat him and deliver greetings from Charlie and Phil Sims. To make the beating stop, Kevin is forced to shout that he took Linda's life. Soon Annie tells Emma that Kevin refuses to cooperate any further. He supposedly admitted that he invented everything just to get out of prison. Emma realizes that Kevin has been pressured yet again. Jason sees it differently and remains convinced that his father is a criminal. The lawyer still refuses to back down, especially after forensic testing confirms that the plant fragments found on Linda's body do not match the burial site. There were no conifers there, and traces of aviation fuel were found in the soil. Emma begins to suspect that Linda was originally buried at an air base. The girl may even have been alive at the time. Emma studies a map and discovers an air base just a mile and a half from the school where Linda was last seen. But why would Kevin bury Linda near the base first and then move her to a spot only 60 feet from his workplace? It makes no sense, which means Kevin was not the killer. Emma visits Kevin in prison again. The man tells her she is fired because he was the one who took Linda's life. Emma knows he is lying. She will not stop until she gets his conviction overturned, and she also intends to have him moved into protective custody while the appeal is considered. The court eventually quashes Kevin's conviction, ruling the evidence against him unsafe. There is a catch, however. Because the Linda Sims case will be tried again, Kevin is released only on bail. At the courthouse, Olivia Greenwood approaches Emma to discuss one lie of Kevin's that cannot be disputed. He had contact with Linda before the night she died, despite claiming otherwise. There is irrefutable proof, a photograph of Linda taken inside the school's maintenance shed. The moment Kevin leaves the courthouse, the press surrounds him. The release of a man whom newspapers branded a monster 14 years ago shocks the public. As soon as the news breaks, Sir Alistair McKinnon, the former deputy secretary to the cabinet, calls CIA operative Heather Miles on a secure line. Heather assures him that everything is under control. She has used the photographs, and they will put Kevin Russell back in his place. Alistair worries that other matters could surface as well. Kevin still cannot believe he is free, at least for now. Many people, however, still believe he is guilty. Angry crowds gather outside his home, shouting that he is a murderer. Emma Banville already understands how dangerous the game she has entered is. There is no turning back. Police officers stand guard outside the house because public anger threatens to erupt into a full-scale riot. Kevin is evicted almost immediately. He rented the property under another name, and if the landlord had known who the tenant really was, he would never have let Kevin through the door. With nowhere else to go, the man accepts Emma's spontaneous offer to stay at her home for a while. The moment Emma and Kevin step outside to get into the car, the furious crowd surges after them, shouting that Kevin is guilty. There is no telling how far things might have gone if Matthew Wilde, the local member of parliament, had not intervened. Matthew knows Linda's family. It is not difficult to guess that Charlie and Phil were the main instigators of the angry gathering. Once he is sure the unrest has been contained, Matthew returns home late as usual. His wife Laura and their son Hugo are waiting for him. Matthew is campaigning to become leader of the opposition and enjoys considerable public support, although he still trails his main political rival slightly. Annie is deeply distressed by her son's uncompromising hostility towards his father. Jason was among the furious crowd ready to tear Kevin apart. Olivia Greenwood places Emma under surveillance. Greenwood cannot allow Kevin Russell to be fully exonerated and will do whatever it takes to send him back to prison. When Emma brings Kevin home, Steve does not even look surprised. Kevin is far from the most frightening person she could have brought through the door. Meanwhile, Emma cautiously asks Kevin whether he ever photographed Linda. He denies it, and says the police are smearing him again. Miriam never ceases to admire Emma's selflessness. If Emma believes someone is innocent, she fights to the end. More than anything, Miriam now wants to be reunited with her husband. Emma warns that if she takes the risk of contacting Yusuf, she will be accused of withholding information and arrested. Looking through Jason's childhood photographs, Kevin breaks down in helpless tears. Even his own son sees him as public enemy number one. The police provide Kevin's lawyers, Emma and Dominic, with more provocative photographs of Linda taken in the maintenance shed, along with a recording of the interview with the man who took them. His name is Tony Pullings, and he is a professional photojournalist. During questioning, Tony said Linda approached him because she wanted glamorous photographs. He kept quiet for years because of her age, although he claimed he did not initially know how young she was. Asked how he obtained keys to the shed and the school, Tony confidently said Kevin Russell gave them to him in exchange for a small payment and copies of Linda's photographs. Emma puts her head in her hands, realizing that this could destroy their defense. Once she pulls herself together, Emma begins considering her next move. Pullings' story is still unsupported by any evidence. She intends to apply for permission to exhume Linda's body so that an independent laboratory can carry out the necessary tests. As promised, Alistair McKinnon has obtained detailed information on Emma Banville for Heather Miles. It turns out that Emma has been on the Security Service's radar for some time, specifically that of Counter-Terrorism Command. Emma's whole life has always revolved around her work, but now she is more concerned about her father's illness. Arthur is immensely proud of what his daughter does. That evening Emma receives a call from a social worker. A 5-year-old boy has lost his mother in an accident. For now the placement would be temporary, since relatives may adopt him later. Emma gives an immediate and emphatic yes. Kevin denies ever receiving any provocative photographs of Linda from Tony Pullings, but Emma senses that he is hiding something. Annie admits that shortly before Kevin's arrest, she did find several photographs of Linda among his belongings and burned them. Emma and Dominic decide to show Linda's photographs to her parents. After all, they all want the same thing: to learn what really happened. Charlie is overcome with emotion when he sees the provocative images of his daughter. Emma urges him to calm down and try to remember where the F-14 fighter jet pin attached to Linda's top came from. It does not look like ordinary jewelry. Perhaps Linda knew someone from the air base, a pilot or a mechanic. Charlie does not believe the pin means anything. Linda could have picked up the trinket anywhere. Emma asks Linda's parents for permission to exhume her body. Beth responds by slapping Emma and grabbing her hair. Dominic can barely pull the furious woman away. The incident only strengthens Emma's belief that Linda's family knows something and is keeping quiet. Heather Miles meets Olivia Greenwood. The two women want the same thing: to stop Emma Banville from getting in their way. Heather offers Olivia a deal: cooperation in exchange for access to international intelligence beyond Olivia's reach. It would allow her to get to Miriam first and then to Yusuf Adder. Olivia refuses, knowing that Heather is making a serious mistake by underestimating Banville. Emma's greatest strength is that she always plays by the rules. Kevin and Miriam quickly find common ground. Emma tries to use Matthew Wilde's influence to secure permission for Linda's exhumation. Matthew makes it clear that even if she gets her court order, it will not be with his help. Until now, Emma did not know that he knew the Sims family personally. Matthew tells her she ought to be ashamed of herself. Returning home late that evening, Emma sees Kevin playing with Kareem. She wonders what lies behind the mask of this seemingly harmless man. For all her faith in Kevin's innocence, the evidence still appears to point the other way. Despite all the difficulties that have descended on them recently, Emma and Steve remain determined to adopt a child and finally become a real family. While Olivia continues to watch Emma, the couple meet Timothy, the boy who has lost his mother. Social services are still trying to locate his relatives. After reviewing the case file again and noting that Kevin took an active part in the search for Linda after she disappeared, Maggie Berman concludes that he reburied the body somewhere the search teams had already checked, knowing they would not look there again. Her theory tears Emma's argument apart. Emma refuses to stop and intends to release the provocative photographs of Linda, no matter how hard Maggie and Monty try to dissuade her. She wants to draw attention to Tony Pullings as another possible suspect. Emma is convinced that the police are protecting either Pullings or someone at the air base. Neither Alistair nor Heather is prepared for this turn of events. Linda Sims's provocative photographs are suddenly all over the news, and the photographer's name and details have also been made public. That same day Dominic is struck by a car and taken to hospital with multiple injuries. Emma visits as soon as she hears. Dominic now understands that something sinister is happening. This was clearly no accident. He did not see who hit him, but he did see them take Pullings away. Because Emma has stopped playing by the rules, Olivia changes her mind and agrees to work with Heather. That evening, after detecting a call from Emma's house to a number linked to a terrorist organization, the security services raid the property and arrest Miriam. Kevin tries to help the woman and is arrested as well. Emma and Steve are deeply shaken. After a home visit, social services were supposed to approve them as foster carers for Timothy if everything was satisfactory, but that is now in doubt. Olivia has achieved what she wanted. Then Emma receives a call from an unknown woman who wants to discuss Tony Pullings. He photographed her too, and she says she knew Linda Sims. The woman agrees to meet Emma. Kevin is returned to prison, leaving Emma in a difficult position. She failed to secure his release on bail, but she is allowed to speak to him as his lawyer. Seeing how defeated Emma looks, Kevin tells her to continue with the adoption process no matter what. A child would give her a reason not to lose heart. Olivia shows Emma Miriam's phone, which was used to call Syria, and demands to know where the SIM card is. Emma says she has no idea. She is certain Olivia fabricated evidence against Miriam in revenge for Kevin Russell's release. Emma says only that she will defend her client, as the law requires. Tony Pullings has abruptly disappeared since Linda's photographs were released. Heather is hiding Tony until the trial, when he will testify about Linda Sims and Kevin Russell. In return, she promises that once it is over, he can return to a normal life. Emma meets Siobhan Murphy, a woman Tony Pullings once photographed as well. Siobhan was very young then and did not understand that what was happening was a crime. Tony often mentioned Linda in connection with parties, promising to introduce the girls to wealthy men and give them a glamorous life. It is perfectly clear what he expected in return. Despite every effort by the Sims family and Matthew Wild, the court agrees to consider Emma's application to exhume Linda's body. Matthew's hands are tied. After the publication of Linda's photographs, the public is outraged and demanding decisive action from the authorities. Emma is told that the local authority has withdrawn its approval of their foster application following the police raid on her home. A child cannot live in such conditions. Social services have already found another family for Timothy. Dominic, now out of hospital, comforts Emma. She quickly wipes away her tears and returns to work. Too much is at stake. She must speak to Tony Pullings at any cost, but it is obvious that the people protecting him will not allow it. Emma visits Miriam at the secure prison where she is being held with her young son. By law, Miriam can be detained without charge for 2 weeks. She denies any connection to a terrorist organization. Emma promises to get them out. Miriam asks Emma to give the SIM card to Yusef's nephew. Emma has no idea what is stored on it. Matthew Wild tries to block Linda's exhumation, arguing that it would be a terrible blow both to her family and to the public. Many people support him, but that may not be enough to influence the court. Steve has accepted a job in Norway and left for 3 weeks. Emma feels more alone than ever. Dominic is the only person she can talk to. Together they try to discover who attempted to get rid of him. It happened just as he was following Tony Pullings. In any event, only a second post-mortem can shed light on what happened 14 years ago. Hoping to appeal to Kevin Russell's sympathy, Beth Sims writes to him and asks him to influence his lawyer and stop the exhumation. Beth does not want old wounds reopened. At a formal event, Alistair McKinnon introduces Heather Miles to Matthew Wild. Alistair and Heather decide to invest in Matthew's political campaign, because like them, he wants Kevin Russell back behind bars. Emma watches a news interview with Beth and Charlie Sims. They emotionally explain that they wrote to Kevin and received a reply, even though they did not expect one. He has agreed to let Linda rest in peace and abandon the exhumation. Emma immediately goes to the chief coroner. Allowing the Sims family to contact Kevin was a serious breach of procedure. The chief coroner, however, refuses to speak to the suspect's lawyer before the hearing. Emma meets Kevin in prison. The man says he only wanted to do the right thing. Emma wearily replies that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Eleanor again begs her daughter to give up her legal career. She wants Emma to settle down and start a family at last. Emma once had that chance. She became pregnant at 19, but Eleanor persuaded her to end the pregnancy rather than ruin her future. Emma has been unable to have children ever since and bitterly regrets the decision. She meets Hamid, Yusef's nephew, who arrives with another young man. They demand the SIM card. Emma says she will hand it only to Yusef in person, immediately angering them. She is not foolish enough to carry it with her, and the men's reaction suggests that it contains something extremely important. Dominic calls Emma to say that the chief coroner has granted their application to exhume Linda's body. It is the last thing Emma expected to hear. The exhumation is carried out at once. Emma gives Olivia a note containing the registration number of the van that took Pullings away. Dominic managed to record it seconds before he was hit. Emma does not know who is hiding Pullings, only that the CIA is involved. While Emma oversees the exhumation, Olivia meets Heather and directly asks why the CIA is interested in Kevin Russell. Olivia has learned that the van used to collect Pullings belongs to a company that hires former servicemen to protect embassies and military sites. Heather denies having any interest in Kevin Russell. Olivia threatens to share classified information with Emma Banville unless Heather tells her the truth. Heather responds by warning Olivia that if she keeps digging, a single mistake could cost her career, and that mistake will be Kevin Russell. Meanwhile, Emma and Dominic wait anxiously for the second post-mortem results. Olivia Greenwood calls Emma's office and tells her that the people protecting Tony Pullings have nothing to do with the CIA. Olivia claims she ran the registration number and found nothing. Emma does not believe a word of it. The second post-mortem exposes major inconsistencies in Kevin's original account. The weapon was not a shovel, and Linda's injuries show that she was struck by a vehicle. Despite everything, Jason stubbornly continues to believe that his biological father is guilty. Emma tells the young man that Kevin did not commit a crime was committed against him. 14 years of his life were stolen, and thoughts of his son were the only thing that kept him from breaking. Heather intends to pull out because the coroner's report will be impossible to challenge, even if Tony Pullings testifies against Kevin Russell. The generals make it clear, however, that if the truth emerges, the lieutenants will take the blame, Heather included. She is the messenger with blood on her hands, her face will be in every headline, and her children will be harassed in the streets and at school. One way or another, Heather will have to clean up the mess. The trial begins. Tony Pullings testifies that Kevin Russell asked him for Linda Sims's photographs in exchange for the keys to the school and the maintenance shed. Tony denies photographing any other girls Linda's age or taking models to private parties. From the calm ease with which he lies, Emma already knows that Siobhan Murphy, another of Pullings's models, will not testify. That evening, Emma and Dominic visit Siobhan to learn why she withdrew. Heather threatened that if Siobhan appeared in court, her photographs would be spread everywhere, across newspapers, television and the internet. Siobhan is terrified that her husband and children will learn about the mistake she made 14 years ago. Everything now depends on the forensic evidence and on Kevin himself. Can he convince the jury that he is innocent? At the next hearing, the coroner testifies that Linda's injuries could only have been caused by a vehicle striking her. Neither Kevin nor Annie owned a car. Asked why he confessed, Kevin says he was interrogated for 2 days without a break. He was exhausted and wanted it to end. Olivia Greenwood exploited that guilt and pressured him. The prosecution has a powerful counterargument, however. Kevin had access to the keys to the school van, meaning that he could have used it to hit Linda. Kevin falters, unsure how to answer. In the jury's eyes, he turns from victim to criminal in a single minute. That evening, Emma receives a note from Yusufatter asking her to meet him. He has returned to Britain. Emma understands the risk, but cannot stay away. While Matthew Wilde delivers a campaign speech and publicly thanks his beloved wife Laura for her support, Heather and Alistair discuss the situation. Kevin Russell suffered a devastating setback in court today, but the game is not over. Heather tells Alistair that it is time to use his old connections. They are unimpressed by Matthew's speech, especially his promise to put an end to any foreign interference in their country's politics. Miriam can no longer bear the weight and calls Emma, begging her to do something. The woman has no one else in this country. Emma promises to seek her transfer to another prison soon, although even that will be difficult because Yusufatter is one of the country's most wanted terrorists. Alistair calls someone and asks for a favor. The next day, the prosecution offers Emma Banville a deal. If Kevin Russell pleads guilty to manslaughter, he will receive a more lenient sentence. The final decision belongs to the defendant. If Kevin takes the plea deal, he will walk free because he has already served the relevant sentence. If they continue fighting and lose, however, he could remain in prison for another 15 years. In the end, Kevin pleads guilty to manslaughter in court. After a few formalities, he will be released from custody. Jason leaves the courtroom disappointed. Officially, Kevin is still guilty. Olivia is surprised that the defense accepted a deal. In any case, the decision was Kevin's. Emma continues to insist that he was not the one who took Linda Sims's life. Olivia mockingly asks who did, if not Kevin. Emma answers that it was the people protecting Tony Pullings. Olivia promises to tell Emma where Tony Pullings is being held, but only if Emma tells her where Yusufatter is. After his release, the first thing Kevin does is meet Annie and Jason at a cafe. He has waited 14 years for this moment. Emma has already found him temporary work and a place to live. Jason shouts at his father to stay away from him. Nothing can change the young man's mind. Distraught, Kevin leaves the cafe and steps in front of a lorry. He miraculously survives but falls into a coma. Emma cannot contain her emotions. She promised to prove Kevin innocent and failed, instead pushing him to accept a plea deal. Jason regrets the last words he said to his father. Emma repeatedly replays her conversations with Miriam and Hamid. Everything suggests that Yusuf has been setting her up. Miriam is either one of his pawns or his accomplice. Heather meets Matthew and tells him that his speech 2 days earlier disappointed them. It did not sound like the speech of an ally. Matthew makes it clear that no one has the right to tell him what to do. Heather advises him to think carefully if he does not want to lose the funding for his political campaign. In any event, they have achieved their goal. Kevin is officially guilty, Linda's body will remain in the ground forever, and Heather will make sure Tony Pullings is taken out of the country soon. Emma has no intention of stopping and calls Olivia, again urging her to reveal where Tony Pullings is. Olivia's terms have not changed. Emma will get what she wants in exchange for Yusuf Attar's location. Fully aware that she is being followed, Emma switches off her phone and travels to Birmingham. This immediately attracts the attention of Olivia's counter-terrorism command team. Hamid and another young man drive Emma to the house where Yusuf Attar is hiding. He thanks her for everything she has done for his family. Emma tries to persuade him to go to the police with her and clear matters up. If Yusuf has nothing to hide, the authorities will stop pursuing him. He refuses and asks for the SIM card, claiming it contains the numbers of people who fund his charitable work in Syria. But if that were true, he would agree to go to the police. Yusuf has not merely manipulated Emma from the start, he is prepared to sacrifice his own family if necessary. When he learns that she did not bring the SIM card, he fires her and orders Hamid to take her away. Emma secretly switches her phone back on, revealing Yusuf's location to Counter-Terrorism Command. Olivia immediately sends in an armed unit, and Yusuf Attar is arrested. In exchange, Olivia texts Emma the address where Tony Pullings is hiding. Emma and Dominic go there. The moment he sees them at the door, Tony tries to slam it shut, but Dominic forces his way inside. Emma threatens to release Siobhan's photographs to the press and expose other damaging details unless Tony talks. He repeats his earlier story. Linda approached him to have the photographs taken as a farewell gift for her boyfriend. Tony finally admits the boyfriend was called Logan and did serve at the base. Determined to find the American serviceman connected to Linda, Emma travels to New York. With help from her old friend Larry Arlman, she learns that the young man was Logan Bradley. He was 17 when Linda Sims died and was stationed at the U.S. Air Base in England. Within 24 hours of Linda's disappearance, Logan was transferred. Larry has managed to obtain Logan's home address in Washington, District of Columbia, a 4-hour drive away. Heather is informed that Emma Banville was flagged when she entered the country. The CIA cannot ignore her arrival. While Emma drives to Washington, CIA agents search her New York hotel room under Heather Miles's personal supervision. Emma finds Sergeant Logan Bradley and shows him a photograph of Linda Sims, which immediately makes him nervous. Logan insists that he never harmed Linda. He has a wife and a child now and wants no trouble. Emma threatens to expose his relationship with Linda unless he tells her the whole truth. At that moment military police arrive, arrest Emma, take her to Andrews Air Force Base and place her in custody. Acting on Emma's behalf, Dominic Truelove meets Miriam in prison and explains that Yusuf is no longer their client. Miriam already knows that her husband has been arrested. She truly believed he was helping people. She has no connection to any terrorist organization and never meant to place Emma in danger. Logan is urgently transferred again, this time with his wife and daughter, but he manages to exchange a few words with Emma first. He says that he met Linda at a party on the airbase. Her uncle Phil Sims, who delivered supplies there, introduced them. They were young and in love. Their planned farewell before Logan's deployment to Iraq never happened because the base was closed to visitors that day for the arrival of important people on private aircraft. When Linda disappeared, Logan immediately told his commanding officer about their relationship. That is why he was transferred so quickly. Emma is interrogated. She calmly explains that she traveled to speak to Sergeant Bradley because he has information her client needs. The officer notes that her customs declaration says she came to attend a copyright conference. Emma refuses to answer any more questions. As a lawyer, she cannot disclose privileged information, even when threatened with charges of obstructing an investigation and committing a federal offense. Olivia Greenwood, promoted to Detective Chief Superintendent after Yusuf Attar's arrest, calls Heather Miles and tells her that Yusuf is now in custody. A search of his hard drive supposedly shows that Emma Banville may be more closely connected to the terrorist network than they realized, which brings the matter under Olivia's authority. Heather promises every assistance while concealing the fact that Emma is currently being held at Andrews Air Force Base. Matthew Wild wins the leadership contest and becomes leader of the opposition. Meanwhile, a bewildered Emma is sent back to Britain. Olivia's phone call was a ruse. Emma cries with relief. Olivia risked her career to get Banville out of the United States. Emma tells Olivia and Dominic about her conversation with Logan. Unfortunately, Olivia cannot question him because no one knows where he has been transferred, but she can question Linda's uncle Phil Sims, who introduced the two teenagers. Emma withholds one detail from Olivia. Several private aircraft arrived at the airbase shortly before Linda disappeared. She believes aircraft like those would have been carrying CIA operatives. Emma asks Dominic to gather every available record of arrivals and departures from the base on the night Linda vanished. Phil Sims has delivered supplies to the airbase since 2003. Emma and Olivia show Linda's parents a photograph of Logan and explain that he was Linda's boyfriend, and Phil introduced them. Charlie and Beth have never heard this before. Phil denies that Linda ever visited the base. Charlie reminds him that Linda often traveled there with Phil to help him. Realizing there is no point in lying any longer, Phil breaks down and admits that on that fateful night he dropped off Linda and her friend Rachel Lee at the base. He swears the girls were perfectly safe when he left them. Beth has no idea where Rachel is now. She left school and moved away a year after Linda's death. Olivia continues to make Heather Miles believe that Emma Banville is under investigation for suspected links to a terrorist organization. Olivia still does not understand exactly what they are looking for. If Kevin Russell did not kill Linda, who did? They are grasping at straws. Only Rachel Lee can shed light on what happened that night. Heather quickly learns that Emma and Olivia are working together. Emma goes to the hospital to see Kevin, who emerged from his coma 20 minutes earlier. He cannot speak, but he is lucid. Emma tells him that she went to America and is close to proving his innocence. Jason promises his father that he will always be there for him. Dominic confirms that several aircraft carrying CIA personnel landed at the airbase on the night Linda disappeared. One passenger was Jack Kretschmer, the U.S. Under-Secretary of Defense during the Iraq War. Dominic assumes Kretschmer came to meet someone from the British government. But if so, how is that connected to Kevin Russell? Emma and Dominic must find out. Since they will never get near Kretschmer, they need to identify the Briton. Heather learns from Detective Sergeant Jenna Brooks, who works under Olivia Greenwood, that Emma Banville no longer represents Yusuf Adder or his wife. Moreover, Banville was never charged with anything, meaning Olivia bluffed to get Emma out of the United States. Emma discovers that on the night Linda disappeared, Jack Kretschmer met Sir Alistair MacKinnon, the former Deputy Secretary to the Cabinet. She contacts him to request a meeting. Alistair in turn calls Heather and says that from now on, he is on his own. Emma meets Alistair and asks about the night of February 1, 2003. He does not even deny meeting Jack Kretschmer at the airbase that night on a matter of national importance. Emma openly accuses Alistair or his people of killing Linda Sims by hitting her with a car and framing Kevin Russell. Alistair tells her she must be out of her mind to make such an allegation. Why would people at their level ever need to do such a thing? Emma is convinced that Linda heard or saw something at the base that she was never meant to know. It may have been a state secret. Alistair throws Emma out, but she senses that he is frightened. In any case, she got what she wanted, proof that he was at the base that night. Emma recorded the conversation, and now her only hope lies with the police. Steve has returned from Norway, but he did not call or write once during the 3 weeks he was away. Emma decides to end their relationship, realizing that he agreed to adopt only because he could not be bothered to argue. Steve, however, refuses to let the relationship end. The truth is that Emma has always put her clients first. They were her children. She let them live in her home and always took their side, pushing Steve into the background. Phil Sims has already retracted his statement, so there is still no evidence that Linda was at the airbase on the night she disappeared. Olivia Greenwood has been suspended pending an internal investigation. In effect, Emma has destroyed Olivia's career. The Linda Sims case is officially closed on orders from above. Kevin Russell dies in hospital without ever being exonerated. His entire family is devastated, and for Emma it is a personal tragedy. Kevin saw the lorry and stepped into its path anyway, unable to bear the knowledge that his own son believed him guilty. Annie cannot stop thinking that Kevin would still be alive if he had remained in prison. He died as a scapegoat. Emma truly tried to help, but no one is willing to listen. Heather meets Matthew and assures him that nothing will lead investigators to the truth about Linda Sims. Both Matthew and Alistair will remain above suspicion. Emma's client is dead and her reputation has been destroyed, so she is no longer a threat. Any normal person in her position would have given up by now. Emma still cannot accept defeat and listens to the recording of her conversation with Alistair again and again. She knows that he is involved, and that he is not the only one, but she cannot prove it. At this difficult moment, Steve becomes her support and anchor, and their relationship begins to recover. Olivia calls Emma with the address of the care home where Maureen, Rachel Lee's mother, is living. Jenna Brooks demands the truth from Olivia. Why is the CIA so interested in Emma Banville? Meanwhile, Emma visits Maureen at the care home. The woman has dementia and can barely recognize her own daughter in a photograph Emma shows her. Emma suddenly reaches a shocking conclusion. Rachel Lee and Matthew Wilde's wife Laura are the same person. She dyed her hair and completely changed her appearance so no one from her past would recognize her. Emma wonders how Rachel Lee became Laura Wilde. She knows that Matthew was serving in the army in 2003, but where exactly was he posted? A special device in Maureen's room detects any mention of her daughter's name, so Laura, or rather Rachel, already knows that Emma Banville visited. 14 years ago, Rachel agreed to help the CIA cover up Linda Sims's death in exchange for a better life. Emma attends Kevin Russell's funeral. Heather fears that Emma will keep digging and contacts her superiors. Once again, however, the generals leave the entire problem to Heather, because fixing situations like this is her job. Emma will not move against Heather until she has assembled the whole puzzle. Olivia is worried about Emma's safety, and not only because of the CIA, Yusuf Eder still has many associates at large. She strongly advises Emma to check her car before getting in, vary her routes and never open an unexpected package. She may have to live like this for a very long time. Emma soon learns that Matthew Wilde was in London in February 2003 and working for the Ministry of Defence. He could well have been at the airbase on the night Linda Sims disappeared. Matthew is the man who has the answers. However noble Emma's intentions, the people she has challenged are extremely dangerous. She will not back down, because she feels she owes it to Kevin Russell and his family. Emma notices a van watching her, although she may be imagining things by now. A late-night knock at the door makes her flinch, but it is only Jason, who has come to talk about his father. The young man cannot understand why Emma is so afraid of the people who framed him. Why has justice still not been done? Emma does not know how to explain. Jason is too young to understand many of the forces at work. While Heather Miles's people prepare to kill Emma and make it look like revenge by Eder's associates, Emma contacts Rachel and asks to meet. Under pressure from Heather, Rachel has no choice but to agree. That will give the CIA operatives enough time to plant a bomb in Emma's car. Laura Wilde naturally denies that she is Rachel Lee or that she has any connection to the U.S. Air Base. Emma threatens to publish the extraordinary story of an ordinary girl who vanished for several years, returned under a new name and became the wife of a powerful politician. Rachel sees nothing sensational in it and wishes her luck. Matthew then arrives and orders Emma to leave. Rachel shouts at her husband to step away from the window. Realizing that Heather's people have planted a bomb in Emma's car, Matthew decides to warn her. He wants no more needless deaths and promises to resign if they all walk away peacefully and forget the story forever. Emma cannot forget. She urges Matthew to reveal what happened on the night Linda died. It is time to put all the cards on the table. Matthew admits that it was an accident. Linda encountered the wrong people at the base that night and ran in fear. Matthew chased her in a car and struck her by accident. If the truth had emerged, it would have caused an international scandal, so they staged the scene to look as though Linda had been attacked. Rachel was there and saw everything. Matthew is deeply sorry and says he is prepared to spend the rest of his life atoning for what he did. Emma is unmoved by his remorse. Because of their lies, an innocent man spent 14 years in prison. Kevin Russell will never learn the truth about that night. Emma drives away, and the police arrive a minute later. She was wearing a wire throughout the conversation with Matthew. Olivia incidentally has been reinstated. The two women worked brilliantly together, but it is already too late for Kevin Russell. Emma asks Olivia to drop every charge against Miriam Eder so that one more innocent person does not suffer. Everyone involved in covering up Linda's death is arrested, and even Heather Miles's diplomatic immunity cannot save her. Miriam and her son Kareem are freed. Emma and Jason visit Kevin Russell's grave together. Emma tells Jason about a mistake she made when she was young. She once misread the facts and lost the love of her life. Ever since, Emma has made a habit of asking questions. That is why she believed Kevin Russell.